Really? You're making another video about the Slender Man?
Yes, I know I talk a lot about this guy. It's just that the Slender Man is very important to me. I've talked about him, his impact on indie horror, his internet fame, fan games, and even a documentary going over his first 10 years, and I've worked with a good friend to make a Slender parody game. So I thought it would be a great time to take a look at the game that put him on the map.
You've already done multiple Let's Plays of this game, and have talked about it in other videos.
Yeah, but I haven't dedicated an entire review to the game, so shut up!
Fine. I swear someday you'll put some of your art in the forest just to try to be the Slender Man.
Of course I wouldn't do anything that stupid. Who do you think I am? Slender the 8 Pages, I would argue, is one of the most important horror games in the genre. It may not seem like much with its simple visuals, single map, and short playtime, but you'll see what I mean. Slender the 8 Pages is an indie horror game about the Slender Man. The Slender Man was created by Eric Knudsen, who went by the username Victor Surge on the Something Awful forums. There was held a contest on who could create the creepiest image. Eric uploaded these 2 images and a fake newspaper clipping of the Slender Man. A tall, thin, faceless man in a black suit that hunts down children. Slender Man won the contest and started to become an exceedingly popular character, but his reach would only explode after the release of Slender the 8 Pages in 2012. There is no story, no plot, or any real explanation as to who you are or why you're in this situation. You just end up in a fenced-off park in the middle of the forest as text shows on the screen. Collect all 8 pages. You immediately start off your journey in this dead, quiet forest. All you can do is walk, sprint, and turn your flashlight on and off. You'll find 10 different distinct landmarks, as each has a chance to hold one of the 8 pages that you're supposed to find. Once you collect your first page, you'll begin to hear a loud thumping noise. That and the Slender Man will begin his chase. Do not turn around, and do not try to face him, because that is what gets you killed. Even if he's far away, as long as he's in your sight, your vision will begin to be obscured by static. Stare at him for too long, or come into physical contact with him, and you'll belong to the Slender Man. Okay, yeah, I would argue the model of the Slender Man himself doesn't look the best. Even for the time, this model was always a bit off. The indents in his pink head, his long orangutan arms, how his suit top looks more like a long-sleeve shirt with a collar, and his wide stance that just screams,
"Mom said it's my turn on the Xbox."
I don't mean to make fun of the work put into this game, but I can't deny that I think Slender Man looks a bit off. Despite this, his presence is still scary, even after all these years. The more pages you collect, the more intense the music gets, and the more aggressive the Slender Man becomes. It's a short and simple game that not only accomplishes its goal, but exceeded it. I'm sure many of you may say, just don't turn around and you'll always win. But it's not as simple as that. Most of the landmarks have different spots pages can be on, and many of them require you to circle around them to find pages. This means turning around and risking death. Some of them make you move around them like a maze or labyrinth, despite most of the game taking place outside. The rusted tanks are a good example of this. As the way they're set up, you may have to do a few laps around them and look around, or else you risk missing a page. If you go through the tunnel and there's nothing inside, then you have to circle around the outside walls as well. The crosswalk is a big plus sign shaped structure, so you're going to have to circle each wall to properly look around. The bathrooms are the most stress-inducing, however. You're in a tight, small building with only a few entrances. You have no choice to turn around at almost every corner to make sure you don't miss a page. And no, you can't just go backwards while facing the opposite direction, because touching the Slender Man is instant death. You see, while the game may be simple, it has a layer of depth that can't be ignored. But there is one problem I do have with this game. Once active, the Slender Man will warp behind you, and with the more pages you get, the more aggressive and closer he'll get. But sometimes he'll decide to be an asshole and warp right behind you, so you die instantly. Yes, he can literally warp right onto you. And like I said before, touching him is instant death regardless of whether or not you're facing him. This has been the big thing that's killed me so much. There was a time I had 7 out of 8 pages, and I knew where the last one was, but right before I got to the last landmark, he did this nonsense. But for a free game that works on most PCs and is only a few minutes long, I can't ignore it. But how did this game change the horror scene? Well, let's go back to the early 2010s. It all begins with YouTube. Back then, YouTube's algorithm was simply based on views. It didn't matter how long the video was or what it was about. As long as someone clicked on your video, then that's all that mattered. And then YouTube wanted people to stay on the site longer, so they changed the algorithm. This new algorithm favored not only longer content, but also content that was uploaded more frequently. This presented an issue for many users such as animators, skit creators, and short film directors, but it did favor one scene that got huge around this point in time: Let's Playing. It's where you basically just record yourself playing a video game. One of these games that many users chose to play was Slender the 8 Pages. Many users such as Markiplier and PewDiePie were seen screaming at this game in their early years, before either of them got 1 million subscribers. This caused a trend of horror game Let's Plays that were popular then, and many indie horror games can give thanks to the Slender Man for popularizing a scene that would help spread the word of titles such as Five Nights at Freddy's, Baldi's Basics, Bendy, Tattletale, At Dead of Night, Spooky's House of Jump Scares, and so much more. Not only this, but the Slender Man's popularity would also benefit the creepypasta community, as it also took off with help from Slender. The Marble Hornet series is directly based on the Slender Man mythos, as the series also inspired others to follow. This one monster gave so much life to the internet horror scene that I think the world of internet horror wouldn't be as big, or at least the same as it is now, if it wasn't for him. And while it does pain me to see the Slender Man go out of style, he has at least made an important impact that we're still seeing today. That and, well, he fell off right before kids' YouTube went nuts, so he was safe from all the weird content that Friday Night Funkin' and Among Us had to deal with. So, yeah, it's probably better that he's gone now. So, thank you, Slender Man.